got a good picture of the coffee cup.
Welcome to the closing plenary of the Global Archive Research Assembly here in Chicago, Illinois at the ICA Green Rides. We are giving very brief reports in this broadcast of what our working groups have done this week and where we're headed. So I'm going to suggest that we'll move the reporting along quite quickly. Please come to the GARA landing page, which is wedgeblade.net/WordPress. Many of you have already been there, and we'll have this posted, but for further information. But for now, I'm just going to bring the first teams up, and we will end with a little reflection on our time spent here together. But each team will have a short period to say what they did and where they see us going. So with that, I'd like to welcome the Historical Records team.
I don't think we have video.
Try it up here.
That's shutting it up. There we go. Thanks. Okay.
Minimize it.
Okay. There we go. We have video.
Wait a minute. Come back over here. That's focused on Gordon. And just.
When
audio's working today.
Get rid of that for now.
Our
Come
poor
up and click
colleagues
here, focus,
who
and
keep
go down
hoping
to
that we
original.
participate in this.
Take two.
They live in a whole.
Are we
Are
ready?
we on now?
Okay.
And with that, I'd like to welcome the Historical Records team. Barrett Griffith.
No, nobody is on yet.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought it was.
Jeff, could you email Wendell and tell him?
It says stop the
We're right here. We can't have a big
We are
discussion.
live. You're on.
We're live,
Am I
folks.
supposed to be
And
over there?
Steve, you're gonna have
Wherever.
to watch, Steve,
Yeah.
you gotta keep track of
Camera.
where your people are.
Okay.
Historic Records team. What we're going to be up to in the future is recreating on-site archive space. I'll go through these and then say a sentence about each. Then we're going to assist individuals and ICA offices in organizing and processing their holdings. And then we're going to launch internships and explore funding opportunities. This room here is set up to hold about another 30 file cabinets, and we're going to begin moving in the direction of culling through files so we have the best of the best up here. Then there are several people who have holdings that we want to help get those in order and figure out how to decide which materials need to be kept and perhaps even sent here to the archives. Then we're going to send out notices to the ICA offices, and we have a lot of materials that we can share with people to give them some help in working with their own holdings. Then we're going to launch some internships and explore funding opportunities. And with the internships, we are going to, with Steve Ediger, explore a couple of opportunities with colleges. And our suggestion is we could get started as soon as we get interns and scan all the IE publications and all the image publications as a start. And then I'm working with Mary Laura Jones on a proposal that is due December 3rd. And so we've just gotten started on that, and hopefully that will kind of get us at least into the mode of looking for some money for the archives. And that's it.
And let's welcome the Future of the Archives Working Group. Paul Noah.
We have a new image of the iceberg concept of organizing the archive files. The tip of the iceberg is the online collections. Then the next level is the organized files, such as are here on the 6th floor. And then we have the basement at the end of all this organization. That is whatever is left after the organization is could possibly be discarded. So,
You can introduce yourself.
I'm Dorothea Jewell. Since we are at a point of some shifts and would like to share those with you. At this point, we are moving from storage
to usage.
We're not as interested in how to store our historical materials as in how they can become of genuine use to others.
We are moving from saving everything
To selecting the valuable.
We're not out to save every item from the past as if it was a sacred relic, but to make available what has real value for the future.
We are shifting from Chicago
To the global.
The Archive Project is no longer a Chicago preservation effort, but a global ICA research activity.
We are shifting from one scanner
To scanathons.
It's no longer a single scanner in ICA Green Rise, but hundreds of scanners around the world.
We are shifting from long timers, not old timers, long timers,
To young interns.
It's no longer dependent on former staff getting together, but drawing more on younger staff and library science interns.
we are shifting from input
To full participation.
It's not so much about asking others for their input about what someone should do as it is in encouraging their participation in doing it themselves.
we are not shifting from doing it all.
One more.
Well,
To broad collegial support.
The role of the current archive team is less to be the primary place where activity happens and more to provide the processes and the support for ICAs and colleagues to be where the action is.
I'm Jack Gillis, and I'm going to report on the future of the social process collection. I thought I might start with the sharing with you a little bit of what happens to somebody who spent a week standing in front of a triangle. One begins to think in triangles. One begins to think in dynamics. One begins to think in the social process. So this morning when I went down to get a cup of coffee at McDonald's and expecting to go in there and simply pay the money and it would get produced and distributed, as we say, for some reason it took 20 minutes. And I'm standing there wondering now, where in the social process production of McDonald's is this screw up happening in the distribution? Because it's clearly not production. They had more than enough. And resources, clearly they had not run out. And so I'm down there at the next level, asking this question and that question, and watching the customers get angry as they're standing up with their number, waiting for it to be done, and people peering into bags, trying to figure out what's in and on, what's not. Anyhow, what I found was that the social process allows you to objectively watch a situation without blowing your stack, which I was very close to doing. But just to tell you what the follow-up will be, I intend to write a letter to McDonald's telling them that I helped develop this and that. I was there when breakfast was formed by the person who made it, Mr. Salvatore Caruso, and that I have a little bit of knowledge about how they work, but I don't like the way they're burning down the forests relative to our environment. Anyhow, that's the thing. What we're going to do, well, we had a lot of fun in the social process work, and we got clarity on what we know and a lot of what we don't know and how to proceed. But what's clear is that the issue is not making the social process work better. That would take several centuries of effort, collective effort, and would not produce much better than what we got. The issue is, how do we get it into the hands of the world in such a way that they can work with it and at the same time begin to appreciate its gift and insight of how society functions, its dynamics, its balance. So our next thing is to really create a polished PowerPoint, and I say presentations because we think this multiple level, multiple ages, can be used with an expanded dimension, with a shorter dimension. And our image here is we need to create, quote, a TED Talk, whether we ever get on TED or not, but it has to be imaginal, it has to be exciting, and so on. So that's one obvious continuation. Secondly, it was clear that we need to update. There's been a lot of work done. Nobody has touched that website, and we need to get models up, dialogue up, stories up, and make it an active site as opposed to simply a dumping site. So that's next. And then finally, we got excited as we began to see the application of this and the use as a possible wine press of having some software developed that would allow people to navigate creatively with data through the social process. And there are so many things you could do that with, games, with all sorts of algorithms. And so Steve Ettinger is willing to be part of that team. Nelson Stover is part of that team. We want to get a couple of young techies, no more than 5 people on that team, and begin that exploration of having something that may eventually turn into a wine press for it. So we certainly welcome anyone out there who has a passion for triangles to please come and join the most exciting set of triangles we ever produced. Okay? Thank you.
Break for commercial.
The Imaginal Education team is not able to be with us just at the moment. We're having some technical difficulties, so I'm going to move on and report on the small working group that was working on the Global Academy. What did we do? Collaboratively created a research brief trying to outline why we would work on this collection. We did some accessioning, mainly with Bill Bigelow helping with that. We got a photo gallery up on our website, not bragging about it, but we did, and it can always be better. We did 3 hangouts between a couple of us. We drafted a survey that's going to go out to everyone we can find, whoever took the Global Academy, to get their input and feedback on the long-term impact of that program. And we've begun searching for online resources. Our team is Teresa Lingenfelter, Wendell Rayfier, Bill Bigelow, Gertrude Foley, Karen Richter, and myself, with support from Frank and Steve. What's gone well, the couple of hangouts the 3 people of us have been really great, but there's really no scanning that's gone on in terms of accession, bringing into being additional resources for the Academy. Insight, we need to build our team, and we need to figure out a way to do some contemporary reflection before we get too deep in the Academy, so we have an idea of where to really focus our things. And we're going to move ahead with 3 ideas. We're going to refine and complete the survey. We're going to encourage Bill Bigelow to keep working at sorting through the massive materials that's here. And we need to find a way to talk as a whole team. Interesting to us, 2 of the people on our team are basically not mainly interested in Global Academy. One is interested in the local church and how to do formation with activists, and the other one has some interest in how to do formation with her order. on to the Gara Spirit Life team. Jan Sanders, Mary Kieran D'Souza, Ellen Howie, Susan Ferdy-Deitz, and myself organized ourselves as a team to create some spirit life for our Global Research Assembly. We designed 4 pieces, pause poems, and somebody needs to get out a poem and read it in a second. Or do you want to do that? Growing a new sense of leadership, a 4x4 to enable us to reflect on our emerging self-identity. Don't worry about it. Let it go. We got 3 stories of 1,000 ways of personal discipline that sustain people on the journey. And we were able to balance the virtual and face-to-face, especially because we got all the resources up on our website. What went well? Getting everything up on the website. And the poems with 2 voices. Jan, that's your cue.
Are we going to do it together? Okay. Why I wake early.
Hello, sun in my face.
Hello, you who make the morning,
And spread it over the fields.
and into the faces of the tulips,
And the nodding morning glories.
and into the windows of even the
Miserable and the crotchety.
best preacher that ever was,
Dear star that just happens
to be where you are in the universe,
to keep us from ever darkness,
to ease us with warm touching.
to hold us in the great hands of light.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Watch now how I start the day.
In happiness, in kindness.
The role of the Spirit Life team wasn't particularly clear, especially in the midst of trying to give all the teams and groupings permission to move ahead. We'd like to work on that. It was great that the teams and groupings took a lead. I think with this dispersed nature, that's very important. And in terms of moving forward, we'll be experimenting with archiving our website since all that material, since the assembly is over. Here. We want to find a way to reflect as a whole team next week, and we're going to, as a team, we're going to consider further work in terms of this growing a new sense of leadership, and in terms of the spirit life, whatever that. Oh, sustaining personal disciplines.
I'm Terry Bergdahl, and I was asked to come and talk about the Wednesday event that happened in the midst of the Global Archives Research Assembly. Wednesday, we did a very public ribbon cutting of our solar panels that are on top of the Green Rise building here in Chicago. And the objective information is that we did that by having a share fair of the various organizations in our building and talking and tabling to explain what they do and why they do it and make everyone familiar with it. We then also invited uptown organizations to be a part of that. And we had some notables. We had the Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Chicago. We had other public officials who came to recognize this. And in the midst of it, we created a real celebrity environment. We had the Old Town School of Music that was out front with a jazz band on the street welcoming people. Then they came inside and performed as a part of that event. And at the tail end of that event, we were all honored by the presence of the Fifth City Preschool, who came and serenaded us with a couple of songs. And that provided a really great kind of environment for this event. Now, I want to say the significance of Wednesday. I'd like to point to maybe 4 different things. One is, it really provided a hard deadline for us to complete some important things. We finished the installation of the solar panels all 483 of them. They went live about 12 hours before the event. Secondly, many of you know we have been working on having a sign on the back of our building that proclaims the ICA Green Rise Learning Laboratory of Uptown. And that sign has taken us 2 years to produce. Well, at 4:30 the day before the event, the last paint stroke was accomplished and it was finished. So just completing projects was a really important part of this day. Secondly, I would say the significance of that day was we told our story in a profound way. We were able to connect what we're about and how we enable people to take charge of not only their lives, but caring for this earth. And working with local communities that do that rather than drawing upon or depending upon just experts from the outside of the like. And we were able to bring that into the room with our share fair, and we were able to demonstrate that even as being a broken down, poor nonprofit that does, it was recently pointed out to me, does not have a particularly strong balance sheet. And yet a decision to care for the future and to move forward. And I feel like we did that very, very well. The third thing that I would say that we accomplished is that we took this powerful work that ICA, frankly, throughout our 50 years has always been able to do, but we were able to turn it into a high-profile event. And we did that primarily due to the news coverage that we were able to generate. We were on 3 different local television stations who also primed and enabled us to tell the story, but then made it very wide. Frankly, that sign on the back of the building is another event that just declares this before the entire city. Finally, I want to say the significance of this event was that it was a little bit of a serendipity occasion that we would do this while the Global Archives Research Assembly was occurring. But in hindsight, it couldn't have been more perfect. Because what happened was I feel like we were able to marry the significance of our previous 50 years and how we document and how we share that with a very profound kind of presence of who we are today, which really is the key for the hope of moving into the future. So that was what we did on Wednesday.
Thanks to all the teams that have reported. I was asked to give a short report on the tech team, which we've had a tech team that's been working for many months to support the work of the archive. It's included not just myself, but Steve Harrington, who's not here, Tim Wegner, who's not here, and Wendell Rafier, who's not here. The four of us have met weekly online to talk about technical details. I just want to say, well, what's in place and is working well in the technology of the archive effort are Hangouts. This is separate from Hangouts on Air. Let me come back to that one. Hangouts are working well. We have learned how to do face-to-face, online teamwork over the months, and most of us now can start a Hangout, invite people to it, run one effectively, and that's a great step forward. We've talked about some of the tech advances. You can now accession your files from wherever you are around the world. We have the technology set up for you to enter in the basic picture of what you've got and where it is. And that then becomes available to the globe. We have information on how to do collections without ever setting foot in Chicago. You can be part of a team that can work virtually to create a new arena, a description of a new arena of our historic work that you believe to be important, and to access the documents that will illuminate that, as well as help you write a description of it from a contemporary position. We now have good equipment here in the archive room in ICA Green Rise, thanks to support from the organization and a lot of people. There's a high quality of recording cameras, microphones, speakers, and so on. We have now a way to encourage people to digitize what they feel are their important documents and send those digital files to a central location where they can then be processed, incorporated into our database, and made available to the world. So we don't have to have you send your boxes full of unsorted materials to Chicago anymore. And I just want to say we have had great technical support from ICA International, from the leadership, the whole team, Martin Gilbreth and Larry Philbrook and Stacy. We just want to give a great deal of thanks and appreciation to them, plus the Wind and Waves editorial team for the fine issue that helped us bring the number of people together around this global archive research assembly, where we're struggling, and we are struggling. I think in two arenas. One is what we call Hangouts on Air, live broadcasts, going live, where we are trying to figure out production values for doing the kind of quality live video broadcasting that many young people have just, they've sort of drunk it in with their mother's milk, I think. But they seem to know how to do it a lot better than many of us of a certain demographic. So we're working a lot on that. And then the interaction between people gathered in one place around tables and people around the globe. How do we make that the kind of lively collegium event that many of us are familiar with from the past in real time? We're working on both of those, so we could very much stand some help. Any of you who would like to jump in on the tech side of this whole endeavor, most welcome. And I think that ends our reporting on the Global Archive Research Assembly. Is there anything else we need to do, Jane?
Bigger story. Are we going to report the bigger story?
Bigger story.
We've not heard from Steve and Imagine Education. I'm wondering if we want to kind of continue on, or maybe cut this here and then come on with a new hangout and start with this and start with Jan's piece and then the reflection.
That'll be fine.
That'll give us
Because I
kind of a
did tell
minute
him
to
that you were
read.
handling the Imagine Education drawing that you wanted to present.
All right, so stop the broadcast, please. And we will come back on air in about 5-10 minutes.